Yes I can, but be warned, this one's pretty heavy. And I'm probably gonna have to censor myself a lot, and there's not many images I can show. Poughkeepsie Tapes is a found footage movie, and basically it is a collection of these tapes found in a serial killer's home. So police raid this house in Poughkeepsie, New York, and they find over 800 tapes. And these tapes chronicle his crimes, which start with the abduction of an 8-year-old girl. So it shows him kidnapping this girl, and then we learn that he SAs and her. Now, they intertwine the tapes along with like police interviews and stuff, and at this point they watch that tape and they say he doesn't even know what he's doing yet. This is his first crime. But then he starts to get better at it. The next tape shows him hitchhiking and catching a ride with this young couple. We never see the killer's face, by the way. It's only filmed from his POV. He ends up overpowering and killing the couple, or at least he first kills the husband by decapitating him, does a C-section on the wife and puts the head in there. The killer is caught on a CCTV at a nearby gas station where he's using sign language to sign Red House. And it turns out that's where the bodies are found, at a red house. So he's almost like toying with the police at this point. Now his next victim is this 19-year-old girl named Cheryl Dempsey, and that's what most of the tapes consist of. So he kind of has been staking out Cheryl for a little bit, we can see, and then he abducts her and her boyfriend from her house one night. He offs her boyfriend but keeps Cheryl, and we just see like this torture of her. Not even just physical torture, but this just like dehumanization. He refers to her as slave. Cheryl's mother puts a statement on the news saying like, please return my daughter. And the next shot we get is the killer going up to Cheryl's mother saying like, hey, I'm so sorry. But he then kind of starts laughing, and her mother can tell that this is him, but she doesn't do anything. She's like frozen in fear. But that at least allows the police to now have a sketch of the murderer. So his crimes are getting more and more attention, and now he's starting to target schmex workers. And he does this by posing as a police officer and making them get in his police car. And this whole thing earns him the name the Water Street Butcher because, again, they still don't know his identity. Now, because of the victims he's now targeting, this leads police to another police officer named James Foley, because he's had a history of fornicating with these workers. And his DNA is found at the scene of a crime. So police think they found their guy, they arrest him, he gets convicted and sentenced to death. However, Foley maintains his innocence through the whole thing, but is ultimately put to death in September 2001. A few days later, Foley's partner finds a map in his mailbox, and it leads him to another body. Turns out James Foley had made a donation to a sperm bank, and the killer took that and framed him. And after he was put to death was like, yeah, fuck you, here's another body. Foley's son is doing an interview and says how it was printed in the newspaper that he was exonerated. However, he was exonerated on September 12th, 2001, so obviously September 11th took over all the headlines and nobody even cared or noticed. We see him pose as a police officer and kidnap another woman. We get this really creepy, iconic scene, which even if you haven't seen this movie, you might have seen this before. But he has this woman tied up and inhumanly crawls towards her with this mask on. Ultimately, through the map that he left, police are led to this house. And when they get to the house, they find a very alive Cheryl Dempsey in a box. But the rest of the house is empty. The killer is nowhere to be found. Cheryl is rescued, but then interviewers go on to say how her body became so used to pain that in the hospital, her condition actually worsened. And she was actually self-harming herself because she became so used to pain, she didn't know how to live without it. Because she had been held captive for years at this point. She does an interview, but during it, you can see she is totally Stockholm syndromed. She goes on to say how her captor loved her and he's gonna come back and rescue her. And then we learn that 2 weeks later, Cheryl takes her own life. Cheryl is buried, there's a funeral. However, a few days later, her body is stolen from her grave. And in her empty coffin is a tape. The movie ends with the police saying that they still have no known whereabouts of the killer. However, they assume that when this movie hits the theaters, he will be there watching, so he could be sitting next to any one of you.